Right, hi. So you'll remember that I said scaling is a chapter which has a lot of literature by itself, research papers on which kind of scales to use. So let's look at scaling in a little bit of depth here. Uh, in your textbooks, you will learn certain kinds of scales, right? Um, it is important to know what the textbook scales are. I mean, you will learn about something called differential. Semantic differential. You learn about something called Likert scaling. You may learn about something called Thurston attitude measurement, right? You learn about something called constant sum scaling. Right? All these are important. All these are used in some fashion in practice, but I'm not going to focus on those, right? If some of you write to me and tell me that you want me to cover this, I'll cover this in some depth. I'll put a small session for this. But as of now, I'm only going to talk about the way scaling is handled in practice, right? You can refer. There's enough published in your textbook that's recommended for this course, as well as our notes. You will have this material on this which you can read. And much of what you can see in the scales that we are going to talk about here, you can relate it back to those scales mentioned in the textbook as well. So that's not a problem. Before we start on scaling, there's one thing that I want to clarify. I have said scaling is about measurement. You may or may not recall my saying it. Okay, but it is not only about measurement. It is about scaling is about correctly understanding the respondent's opinion. Sometimes it involves measurement, sometimes it doesn't involve measurement, and we will see that. Essentially, it's about correctly understanding whether the respondent is a positive or a negative opinion, how much positive, how much negative, about which things he has a more positive opinion, which things he has a stronger opinion, where does he have a stronger like or dislike, so on and so forth. We need to understand it. That's what scaling is all about. Okay, and scaling is always close-ended and aided, in the sense we give the scale options to the respondent and we ask him to choose which option is closest to his opinion. So invariably the scaling question goes like, please see the options here and tell us which of the option is closest to your opinion on that topic, whatever the topic is. Right? That's where the question wording goes. Please see the options here and tell us which option is closest to your opinion on that subject, right? So let's go forward. So there are, to begin with, two broad kinds of scales, and this is why I said it's not always measurement, right? This side is metric and this side is non-metric. Okay? Now, metric per se means measurement. Non-metric is not about measurement. Okay? Right? So that's why I said scaling is not always about measurement. Very often, however, in practical market research, we will be using interval scales. This is the one that we use extremely commonly. And generally speaking, scaling is about interval scale. Sometimes we use ratio scales. Sometimes we use ordinal scales. Sometimes we use nominal scales as well. Right? Okay, so far? The word metric means measurement, meter, right here. So now, when we use a nominal scale, we can only okay, we'll come back to this, right? Yeah, we'll go here. This is a nominal scale. A nominal scale is simply a name. Sorry. A nominal scale is simply name. We call, a respondent, we label them as male or female. We label the city as Bombay, Chennai, Delhi, right? We say boy, girl. We say brand A, brand B. We're just attaching names, labels. We're not saying that, female is lesser than or is greater than. We're not saying anything like that, male. We're not implying that one is better, one is more, one is lower, nothing. We're just giving it a name. That's nominal. Okay. So when we use a nominal scale, then the only analysis we can do is what percentage of people have chosen this option, what percentage of people have chosen that option. And therefore, mode is a relevant statistic here. Right? Ordinal scale is about ranking, order. So this is the most important parameter. Which are the three most important parameters for you when choosing biscuits or soap? Let's say you're buying a soap. What are the important parameters when you're buying a soap?
Smell.
Shall I call it fragrance?
Fragrance, yeah.
Okay.
It should not be harsh on the skin.
Okay.
Price.
Price. Lather. Color.
Yeah, color.
How long it comes? How many days it lasts?
1 month.
How long should it last? Is that important?
Yes, it is.
Now, which are the two most? Which is the most important?
Fragrance.
The most important. Which is the
And
second most?
soft on skin.
Okay. So this is rank 1, rank 2. This is an ordinal scale. Okay. It is ranking. Is fragrance twice as important? Can I make out from this? No. No. You can't find out how much more important. You can only say important. Right? Therefore, when we do the kind of analysis we can do with this is only median and mode, which is the middle point. Sorry. Which is the middle point, and what percentage give rank 1, rank 2, rank 3 for each of those ranks, and which is a median rank. Right? Now, this is the theory. In practice, we use ranking scale. Sometimes we use the mean also. Strictly speaking, we shouldn't, but people find it easy to relate to the mean. So sometimes we actually give mean rank. Theoretically, in principle, we should not, but in practice, we do it. Right? We'll go forward.
Yeah.
Interval scale. How far apart the responses are. Now, you're all science students. You understand Celsius and Fahrenheit. So you know that 5 degrees Celsius minus 4 degrees Celsius is equal to 4 degrees Celsius minus 3 degrees Celsius. This is a fact. So this is called an interval scale. Okay. Now this is the metric scale. We're actually measuring. So here you can use mean and median and mode. So earlier 2 scales you could not use mean. Here you can use all 3. Right? Ratio scale is the same as this plus absolute 0. So how many rupees do you have? in your pocket, right? If that's a question. So I have 50 rupees in my pocket. You have 150 rupees in my pocket. So, for example, 150 minus 50 is equal to 250 minus 50. Sorry. Minus 150. Right? 150 minus 50 equal to 250 minus 150. So the same principle holds good here as well. Plus 150 equal to 3 times of 50. But in this Celsius scale, 25 degrees Celsius is not equal to 5 times 5 degrees Celsius. It is not 5 times as hot. The scale is not a ratio scale. It is only an interval scale. Whereas this is a ratio scale. Right? Do you know why 25 degrees Celsius is not equal to 5 times? How to prove it? It's very easy. Convert it to Fahrenheit. Okay, there's a formula that we all learned in school. C by 5 equal to F minus 32 by 9. So if you have to convert 25 to Fahrenheit, 25 by 5 equal to F minus 32 by 9. That is 5 equal to F minus 32 by 9. That gives us 5 into 9 F minus 32. That gives us F is equal to 5 nines are 45 plus 32. Yes, I hope I'm doing this correctly. I'm just doing it from my vague memory of my school formula. 9, 5, 45, and 32 comes here. 5 minus 49, sorry, is 45. 45 plus 32, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So F comes here, becomes plus 45 plus 32, 77 degrees, right? Whereas the same thing you take now for 5. 5 by 5 equal to F minus 32 by 9. So 5 and 5 is 1. 1 into 9 equal to F minus 32. So 9 plus 32 equal to F. So that's equal to 41. Now 77 degrees is definitely not 5 into 41 degrees. Therefore, it is not a ratio scale. Right? I'm sorry for this mistake. I made this mistake because I was thinking one thing and saying something, and here I was thinking 45 but I was writing 49. Yeah. So 9 5s are 45. 45 is equal to F minus 32. Therefore, F equal to 45 plus 32. Is it okay? Yeah. So these are 4 kinds of scales. What are they? Nominal, which only measures names. Ordinal, which is the ranking. Interval, which is equal distance, actually measuring. It's a metric scale. The ratio is also a metric scale. Intervals are equal. Plus, there's an absolute value of 0. So, most of the scales that we have, how satisfied are you? For example, these are all actually interval scales. Okay? So, let's go forward and see some of the scales that we use in practice. In practice, we use these kinds of scales. We use something called verbal rating scales. Okay? We use something called ranking scales. We use agree-disagree scales, and we use association scales. And just for you to understand better, verbal rating scales very often are interval scales. Ranking scales, as we've already seen, are ordinal scales. Agree-disagree scales are also interval scales. Okay? Association scales are nominal scales. Okay? And we should see some examples of each of these scales. So far, are we clear?
Yeah.
Let's go forward. So if the question is, How satisfied are you with X? X could be your refrigerator, your car, your office, your salary, your banking service provider, your credit card, could be anything. How satisfied are you? And if this could be the scale that you give. It goes from totally dissatisfied, which is very negative, to totally satisfied. And this is known as a 7-point scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Totally dissatisfied, substantially dissatisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, neither satisfied nor satisfied, somewhat satisfied, substantially satisfied, totally satisfied. What's the most recent consumer durable that you bought in your house?
Refrigerator.
You bought a refrigerator. How satisfied are you with the refrigerator?
Yeah, I'm totally satisfied.
You're totally satisfied. Excellent. What is the most recent bank account that you opened?
I opened an account in Indian Bank.
Indian Bank. How satisfied are you? You have to choose from these options.
I'm totally dissatisfied.
You're totally dissatisfied. So now you get how the scale goes. You're totally satisfied or totally dissatisfied, nothing in between. Yeah? But some people are saying, yeah, I'm substantially satisfied. Some people say, I'm substantially satisfied, but there's one or two extremely small things. I'm somewhat satisfied, but I'm not really happy. All those options are possible. Right? Okay. The next question could be, you're shown a new product description and all, and then people ask you, how likely are you to buy this product ABC? The options given are, I will definitely not buy. I will probably not buy. I may or may not buy. I probably will buy. I definitely will buy. Okay. This is known as a 5-point scale. Please understand, both these scales are called verbal disposition scale. Right? We said that in the previous slide. Do you remember? We said that in the previous slide. Verbal rating or verbal disposition scales. Okay, you can use the word verbal disposition as well. Okay. The point is, words try to capture how you're disposed, what your opinion is. It's a verbal scale, totally dissatisfied. Right? The words try to capture your opinion. So the words try to capture, like, I will definitely not buy this product. I will probably not buy this product. I may buy, I may not buy. I'll probably buy this product. I'll definitely buy this product. Right? This is called a 5-point scale. Because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's called a 7-point scale.
When to use 7-point scale? When to use?
We'll come to that. That's, of course, the most important thing here. Let's first see all the scales and we'll come to it. Also, in both these scales, note one thing. This is called the midpoint. Both the scales have a midpoint. And here there are 2 on this side, there are 2 on this side. Here there are 3 on this side, and there are 3 on this side. Remember these things. 3 negative points, 1 middle point, 3 positive points. 2 negative points, 1 middle point, 2 positive points. Just remember this. Okay, well, let's go forward. This is one more scale. You're given a perfume and you're asked how would you rate the strength of the fragrance. So your options are much too strong, somewhat too strong, just right, somewhat too weak, much too weak. Okay. Now, how is the scale different from the previous ones that we saw?
Here the midpoint is just right.
Yes. So,
If the respondent chose it is just right, then we can take it as a positive.
Otherwise?
They are not satisfied.
So here, the two or three important differences from the previous slide is one, here there is no neutral point. There's nothing like neither too strong nor too weak. I'm not, okay? Two, there are 4 negative points. 3, there is only 1 positive. Whereas in the previous scale it was 2 and 2 or 3 and 3 with 1 neutral. Here there are 4 negative and 1 neutral. So to go back to the previous scale, in market research, lingo, you'll very often find market researchers and brand managers talking about this as a top box. You'll very often find people saying, my percentage top box is 30, meaning percentage of people who said totally satisfied is 30. Or in this case, this is percentage top box, right? And these two together, take a guess what may it be called. This is called top box. So these two, take a wild guess, come on. It's called top 2 boxes. So some people say my top box is 30%, some people say my top 2 box is 40%. It depends on what they want to use. Here these two are top 2 boxes. Right? Now to come back to the scale that we were seeing, this is also the top box. Oh, sorry. Doing this very often today. This is the top box. It is the only positive box, it's also the top box here. Right? Now let's turn our attention to the scale. We are asking people about the taste of a biscuit. Excellent. Very good. Quite good. Fair. Bad. Very bad. How is this different from the scales that you saw on the previous slide?
This is a 6-point scale.
Good. That's one important point of difference. Yes.
There is no midpoint.
Yes, excellent. One more.
Four positives and 2.
Very good. Excellent. 4 positives and 2 negatives. Actually, there is one more difference. We'll go back. We'll refresh your memory. Read out the scale. Read out the scale.
Definitely will not buy, probably will not buy, may or may not buy, probably will buy, definitely will buy.
Now read out this scale.
Totally dissatisfied, substantially dissatisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, somewhat satisfied, substantially satisfied, totally satisfied.
Right. Now read out this scale. And tell me if we can spot the difference.
Excellent, very good, quite good, fair, bad, very bad.
Are you able to put your finger on the difference? Fourth difference. You already correctly pointed out 3 differences. The fourth difference is that this starts with a positive. The others start with a negative. Now, I'm ready to tell you the difference between how to use which scale. Let me just see the next time a couple of more examples. We'll come back. No, it doesn't. Yeah. So, in general, there's a principle. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm doing this very often today. In general, there's a principle that you have to start with a negative. Because consumers tend to be polite. We discussed this earlier also in some other context. You have to tell them it is okay for them to give us negative feedback. And so it starts with the negative. Let me see the negative. Oh, I can even see this. That's reassuring. Second, by and large, it is preferable to have a midpoint. You'll sometimes find people who are not very hands-on with research saying, but then everybody will just pick up the middle point. It doesn't happen. It absolutely doesn't happen. The point is, a consumer may have a positive opinion, a consumer may have a negative opinion, a consumer may be neutral. Your scale is supposed to give him the option to choose whatever he wants to choose. Your scale is not supposed to force him into positive or negative, because that, that goes back into the territory of bias. So you give him options. You're free to be negative, you're free to be positive, you're free to be neutral. Therefore, you must have a midpoint. Thirdly, by the same principle of not forcing him towards this or that, it's better, not compulsory, better to have an equal number of positive and an equal number of negative scales. Scale points, not scales. And those scales are called balanced scales. Okay, those scales are called balanced scales, where there's equal number of positive and negative. So in general, it's better to have balanced scales. An exception is this scale. A just right scale cannot be balanced. The strength of a biscuit, the crispness of a biscuit, the temperature at which coffee is served, it's either just right, or it's too hot, or it's too cold. So to do justice to that scale, you can just have one positive point and the others are negative points. Right? So start with a negative, have a middle point, have a balanced scale. Now, let me talk a little bit more about this just scales. Right? You can get the same result by, instead of using this scale, you can ask them, how much do you like the fragrance? In which case, I'm asking you to construct a 5-point balanced scale with a midpoint, and you're supposed to measure the person's liking towards the fragrance. How would you construct that scale? What will be the options? You must have 5 points. It must be balanced. You must have a midpoint. And you're trying to measure the person's liking towards the scale. So what should be the scale? Be a little louder so that your mic captures your voice. Yes.
So I have to use a just right scale, or?
You have to use a balanced midpoint scale. That's what I'm saying, right? A balanced scale with a midpoint, a 5-point scale. So just right scale is not a balanced scale. So the way you will go is, I dislike this fragrance very much. I dislike it somewhat. I have no opinion. I like it somewhat. I like it very much. And then, if the person says they dislike it, you can ask them why. And then they can tell you it is too strong or it is too weak. You'll get the same result as the scale. So, what am I saying? I'm saying use a scale sensibly. Don't have meaningless rules in your mind. You'll get the same result by using this scale. I mean, first asking a like, dislike, and then a why, dislike. You'll come back here. Why can't you do the job with just one scale? Right? Both approaches are correct. In one approach, it's only one question. The approaches are two questions. Now, the only rule about which scale you should use is which do you think the respondent will understand more easily? You have to go with that. If the respondent is going to understand this scale more easily, go with this. If the respondent is very articulate and intelligent, well educated, then go with this. That should be a guiding principle. A questionnaire has to be consumer friendly, not marketing friendly. We already talked about this, right? You had one more question. Your question was, how do we decide whether it is 7 or whether it is 5? Okay. Are you in the habit of measuring your weight with bathroom scales? Many people do that. They have a weighing machine at home and they stand on it every day and they check their weight. Okay. Whenever I go to the bank, right, I check my weight there because I got a free weight machine. Do you do something like that?
No.
Okay. So this weighing machine that I use in my bank, I know that it shows half a kilo extra. So when it shows my weight is 72.5, I subtract half and I say my weight is 72. In a medical shop near my house also there's a scale. That always starts -0. So if it shows my weight is 71.5, I add half and I say my weight is 72. Okay, why? Because I have already in my mind sort of got a calibration for these scales. I know this one tends to report less. I know this one tends to report more. Now if I go to a new place and before I put that coin, if we don't see if the needle is exactly at 0, we are fine. Correct. But if the needle is not exactly at 0, if I don't observe it also, and when the weight suddenly shows my 73, I won't know whether, oh hell, does it always say +1 or has my weight increased something? I don't actually know. Correct? Market research scales work the same way. If you as a researcher have always been working with 5-point scale, and you know that, on average, 60% of consumers tend to say 5 and 30% consumers tend to say 4, then for a fresh measurement, if that 60 drops to 50, oh, this is less than the average, you can take the conclusion. So, both 7-point and 5-point are correct. Both are equally correct. Both are equally well understood by the respondent. So, you cannot choose based on that. So, you go by, I have been using this scale. I know how to sort of interpret the results on that scale. I will stick to it. And no amount of theoretical argument can change that. So, the consideration is, will the respondent understand the scale comfortably? Use that which the respondent understands more comfortably. Given that one primary constraint, stick to balanced scales, stick to scales with the midpoint, and then from that point onwards, go with whichever scale works for you better. So let me repeat the rules. First principle, whichever scale the respondent understands best. If you have 2-3 scales the respondent understands equally, choose the scales which is balanced, choose a scale which has a midpoint. If you have 2 scales, both of which the respondent understands equally, both of which are balanced, both of which are midpoint, then go with that scale which you have been using regularly in the past because you know how to read the scale. Are we okay so far?
Yeah.
Good. Let's keep going forward. There are a couple of more scales that we need to see. You've seen this. We mentioned in that, in that earlier slide.
Agree, disagree.
Sorry. In the earlier slide, we talked about agree, disagree scales, right? We'll come to that now. So, very often, we have in the questionnaire, we have some statements. We say this brand is a good brand. This brand is offering me, let's say it studies about the customer satisfaction for the bank. So there'll be a statement like the bank offers very good service. Do you agree with that statement? The people in the bank are very polite with me. Do you agree with the statement? We'll have questions like that. For those questions, the scale will be an agree-disagree scale. Okay? Now, this is also a verbal disposition scale. It is just that I mentioned it separately because it comes along with, a list of statements in the questionnaire. That's all. Sorry, verbal disposition scale. Right? So, the same rules. We start with a negative point. Just because we believe that the respondent is less likely. The scale is balanced. Right? The scale is a midpoint. Okay. So the reasons what we saw, also note that all the scales are balanced except for the scale number 4, which we saw earlier. The scale number 4 is the scale. Right? Yeah. So the reason for the scale not being balanced is that some clients like to spread out the positive responses. Right? But in our experience, it doesn't work that well. We prefer to use balanced scale. So this is one, agree disagree is one particular kind of verbal disposition scale. It's a balanced scale. It has a midpoint. And it starts with the negative. All right? Shall we go forward? So we have finished looking at verbal disposition scales. And what kinds of scales are these? Between nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Verbal disposition scales are what kind of scales?
Interval.
Excellent. They're interval scales. So let's go forward. You know, this is pure theory. Ignore it for the time being. A very, very theoretical researcher will say it's actually not is ordinal, not interval, but for all practical purposes, we use them as interval scales. You take it as interval scales, right? Let's go forward. Now let's look at ranking scales. So a typical example is which of these parameters is most important to you when choosing a brand of soap. We have already done this example. We have said number 1 is, if I remember correctly, you said soft on skin, and number 2 is fragrance. Or maybe you said the other way around. I don't remember. But you have said that very clearly. So this is the first most important, this is the second most important. Now, sometimes people want to ask rank 4, rank 5, rank 10, etc. Consumers cannot think that deeply. It's better to stick to 3 ranks. So which is the most important? Second, third. Beyond that, you'll be like, today you will say this, tomorrow you will reverse it. Because it's not so strong in your mind. Right? Sometimes we use mean scores on ranks, as I said. But more likely we say, if you have been given a set of 10 parameters and our study is to find out overall which are the most important parameters, we will say for parameter 1, 35% rank it as the first and 62% rank it as one of the top 3. Whereas for parameter 2, 25% rank it as first and 59% rank it as one of the top 3, and so on and so forth. Therefore, on the whole, parameter 1 is the most important parameter. How many percentage rank it as first type? So that is proportion. Is this clear? So when we're using proportion, that's percentages. Which one are you using? Mean, median, or mode? Mode. Excellent. So when you're using proportions or percentages as a way to evaluate, we're actually using the mode in a modified form. Okay? Now let's go to the final kind of scale. This is an association scale. So this is about which brands do I associate with which qualities. Okay? So you'll show a list of qualities. If it is soap, you will show fragrance, lather, feel on the skin, moisturizing effect, color, ease of opening the packaging, comes for a long time, doesn't dissolve easily. There could be other parameters. All these are the qualities that people look for from a soap. So I have with me a set of parameters that people like you may be considering when deciding which brand to choose. Separately, I have a list of brands with me. So I would know for each parameter which brand you'll associate with. So for leather, and I'm giving you brands like Rexona, Merimix, Lux, Dove, etc. Which brand will associate with? And I'll go on to reassure the respondent. You can choose one brand or more than one brand. Or if you feel none of the brands can be associated, then you can say none. There are no right or wrong answers. It's your opinion. So one more principle that we talked about earlier. We are asking a question for which we want him to think a lot. and therefore the wording is long. Remember, we saw this principle earlier. So the principles of question wording and what we say in the scale, they're all associated. So now this person says, for lather, I will choose Dove and Lux. For fragrance, I will choose Mysore sandal and XYZ and ABC. For value for money, no, they're all too expensive. I won't choose any brand. Or for easily available, all the brands are easily available, so all the brands I will choose. Right? So this is the way we can, the scale works. So let me summarize what we saw in the question. We talked about, I will go back to the first couple of slides here. I think I will need to go. I will probably want to go somewhere here. Where were we in principles? We were here. No, sorry. How did I come here? I wanted to go here. So we spent time in designing how each of these affects the the process of writing a question, the method of collecting data, the kind of information we're trying to collect, how do we decide the flow, the question wordings, the response options, the screening and classification questions, and language translations, and finally we spent some more time coming back to scaling. Right? Now, I will now take a blank slide, please, and I will tell you a little bit about the process of actually writing that questionnaire. Right? I'm going to use this blank slide here. Okay. So let's say the topic is career aspirations of postgraduates 1 year after joining work. This is the topic. We're supposed to write a question. Therefore, the target group is postgraduates who have been working for 1 year. Okay. Now, what do we do first? We first find out whatever we want to find out. List of topics, list of points. Correct. So, what all will we find out? Name. What is the course they studied? Right? We'll confirm that they're really PG. Do we want gender? Yes, we want to see if it varies by gender. Okay. Do we want to know which city they live?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then do we want to know what kind of work they're doing now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then what? Do we want to know how happy they are with the current work?
Yes.
Why? I'm writing it, but why? Only if we know how happy they are, we can find out what their aspirations are. Okay. What is career aspiration? Is it when they are 60 or 50? Not clear. No, what is career aspiration? You have to be louder, otherwise the mic won't capture it. Only my voice will come. So, let us say, what do you want to be 5 years from now? What do you want to be at 35? What do you want to be at 50? Too far. I mean, these people are 22, 23, 24 years. So even 35 is too far. What do you want to be 5 years from now is possibly, right, relevant. Okay. Now, when we say what you want to be, right, what are the variables that come? Do we talk about designation? Yes. Do we talk about how much money they will be earning? Do we talk about the nature of the work they will be doing? Okay, so we are not We're not here to debate this, but let's just say this is the list of things that we want to find out. Okay? So first we have to write a screening questionnaire. What are the relevant in the screening questionnaire?
Whether they are postgraduates.
Okay.
Their work experience.
How many years of work?
Years?
Because we want only 1 year old. Nothing else. Okay. So which course you're studying, gender and city come? It will come at the end in classification, right? Good. So now here we are. Now within this, what will be section A? Now we have to do a flow chart. So what will be section A? First, we will ask, what is the nature of work now? Okay? How are we going to ask it? Are we going to ask it aided or unaided? Those are the decisions we have to take. Then we're going to ask, how satisfied are you? How are we going to ask it? 5-point scale? Then we're going to ask why, if they're not satisfied, why they're not satisfied. Reasons. Is it going to be open-ended? Those are the decisions we have to take. Okay, so this finishes section 1. Okay. Do we want to ask a question saying, when you finish post-graduation, you wanted to enter some line. Is that the line you want to know? Do you want to ask a question? Okay. So are you in the same line? As what you wanted. So that we know, yes, questions. Do you want to know why he changed? Why didn't he join the line? You want to know?
Yeah.
Do you need to know? Will it make the questionnaire too long?
Yes.
So then what do you decide? Okay. Well, write it now. Why changed if changed? Right? Then we say, 5 years from now, what are your plans? What is your dream career? I'm asking you dream career. Do you want everybody to admire you? Do you want to be rich? According to you, when will you be successful? Is it that you will have so many cars, you'll have such a big house, you'll have so many people reporting to you, everybody will admire you. When you go back to your hometown, people say, wow, she's come. Is that it? Or is it that you'll be busy, you won't have anything else in mind? I'm so happy, I'm working, I love my work. Why? I don't need lack of entertainment. I love my work so much. So my work is my passion. Therefore, I'm happy when I'm working. I don't have to worry about people calling me workaholic because I'm happy when I'm working. Is it like that? It varies from person to person. Right? So, this is how you go about writing a questionnaire. Right? At every stage, you have to ask yourself, do I want to close it? Do I want to open it? Do I really need this question? Is it a scaling question? How do I word it so that the person doesn't take offense? Right? I mean, are you going to ask him, hey, are you a failure? Did you get what you wanted? You're not going to say, oh, I'm a failure. He's going to say, no. Initially, I wanted this, but I changed my mind. Why did you change your mind? Somebody made you change your mind, or you changed your mind? Don't ask him that, right? You have to word it politely. This is the process of writing a questionnaire. Right? So we've got a fair idea of what questionnaire writing is all about? Okay, wonderful. So let's stop this chapter here.